Hi everyone, it's Justine. Today I'd like to talk about the beauty ideal in the fashion industry. It's a hot topic, much debated. I'd like to bring things into perspective and have a constructive discussion about it. Why are models so thin? There are three thoughts that I'd like to share with you in today's video. The first one is they are like that because it's practical, and you will see in a minute what I mean by this. There is an actual reason behind this phenomenon. Second point, it hasn't always been like that. Third point, how to influence that beauty standard. Let's go. Let's start with what I call the practical considerations, practical reasons. From the designer's perspective, it's a lot easier to fit a dress on a woman if that woman, her body, has very little to no curves, because then you don't need to work around these curves with the fabric. Here, I need a bust dart to fit my breasts. If I was flat-chested, it would be a lot easier. I could go with a straight pattern, a flat surface. Producing a design is a lot cheaper when the pattern is more simple. The pattern is quicker and cheaper to make. You save a little bit in fabric consumption, and it's a lot faster to sew. In the times of couture, when women would have the dresses tailored for them anyway, curves were not an issue. For the runway, a dress would be tailored on the runway girl, and then later on, each customer would have a dress tailored for her, one by one. It wasn't a scalable process. But now ready-to-wear brands don't want to have to prepare dresses, especially for the runway models. So now the models must match the clothes and not the other way around. That's a mindset shift, really. That's why the models are expected to be very similar to each other in terms of proportions and height. On top of that, nowadays, the clothing is in focus, not the girls who are actually walking the runway. And that's also a change compared to what it used to be in previous decades. That's why often the girls are even asked not to walk naturally. Take a show by Vetements, for instance, very, very hype brand at the moment, Vetements. The girls walk almost like robots, like this, very fast, moving the shoulders and not the hips, and as much as possible, all in the same way. That's what they briefed to do. They were asked to walk like this by the designers. Now compare that with a Chanel show from the 80s, where you see Inès de la Fressange, who was the face of the brand at that time for years and years, very famous Chanel face. She would laugh while walking down the runway, something that you would never see today, or almost never. She would talk to somebody in the first row, say hi to someone, turn around, like change pace in the middle of the runway. You really saw the girl rather than the clothing. Well, today it's the opposite. Conclusion of this first point: having models who are very similar and have barely any curve is actually serving the purpose of the ready-to-wear industry. In my opinion, it's really a consequence of that ready-to-wear industry becoming more and more dominant internationally. My second point was that this beauty ideal is just a phase, so to speak. It hasn't always looked like this. It's hard to remember and to put into perspective because change is slow and continuous. But if you look way back in time, you will see a clear contrast in terms of ideal. 1920s, Doris Hill was a model and she was almost flat-chested. Was she though? Because at that time, women would literally wrap fabric around their chest to make them flat. It was considered more aesthetically pleasing. 1950s, Brosmer, also a model, just 30 years later, was considered an extreme hourglass. Her waist is so tiny. You think if you hit her at the waist level, she's going to break in two parts, right? It's so tiny. 1970s, Farah Fawcett, a figure really of her decade. I think that's a shift in mindset again towards a more athletic kind of model. She's less feminine, so to speak. She's leaner, clearly, taller, sportier, and most importantly, more youthful. 1990s, Cindy Crawford, feminine body but with strong shoulders, very lean, very strong. At that time, the ideal measurements were considered to be 90, 60, 90, bust, waist, hip. Now you see a photo of her daughter, Kaia, who is currently a wildly successful model. They have the same genes, yet look how different their bodies look. Both Cindy and Kaia represent the perfect woman, just in different decades. If you look at the dress forms that designers work with, you will see that evolution too. Dress forms used to be very curvy, shoulders, well, more or less shoulders, generally speaking, not very sporty, not very athletic. Now they're extremely lean, extremely athletic, and have almost no bum. When I entered fashion school in the first semester, I always had to look twice, like, okay, so this is the front, so this would be the back, this would be the bum, where's the bum? I learned to drape darts on garments on non-existent bums. Conclusion, models are really thin at the moment. But before this period, it was different. And afterwards, it will no doubt change again. Which brings me to my third point. How to influence the beauty ideal. At any point in time, the fashion, the beauty ideal has reflected our aspirations. Our aspirations, which is great because then it means that we can influence it. As a designer, I choose not to work with models from modeling agencies. I go with girls who are 2 or 3 sizes bigger than the standard model size that is expected of modeling girls, and I want my models to have curves. I want to make darts and I want to fit the clothes properly. This is my way of saying, no, I do not want to participate in that image of beauty that is being carried through the media today. Some ready-to-wear brands that have a large size range are starting to show runways with normal size girls and plus size girls walking together. It sounds like it was about time, but remember that fashion used to show women who looked like what we should want to look like. Whereas now they're starting to show us women who look like what we look like. And genuinely, I think it's a good evolution because it allows us to finally see what the clothing will look like on us, how it will fall on us, on our bodies. Social media are a curse and a blessing at the same time. A curse because they will show you the same girls all day having the same lips, the same hair, the same makeup, the same waist trainers, the same healthy routine, and you feel that a certain idea of beauty is being forced upon you. And I think I agree. But at the same time, social media is a chance, a potential platform for you to say, hello, this is what I look like, and this is just fine as well. And that thought is actually extremely democratic. Conclusion, the fashion industry is slowly starting to open up, and all of us, we can influence what is considered beautiful. The message that hopefully comes across in this video is that the current beauty ideal is a logical evolution from previous decades, that it's a phase that will pass, and last but not least, I'd say most importantly, we can now influence through the media what beauty will look like next. If you can feel the positivity in this video, thumbs up. Thank you very much. What do you think beauty will look like in, let's say, 20 years from now? Raise your hand if, like me, you would like to time travel and have a look now at what happens in 20 years. There is another topic that I could talk about for days and nights in a row. It's the topic of vanity sizing. Actually, I've dedicated a video to that matter, so I will link it here and down below in the description if you want to have a look. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. I will see you very soon in a new video, and until then, take care. Bye.